When I got on board, I was like, it looks kind of similar to the configuration for the A380s. And, there was no urinal, of course. But you guys kept telling me about that underground bathroom in
the underground bathroom. I love
that. In economy. So at some point during the flight, I was like, I got to check out this bathroom.
You have to.
Yeah. So I was talking to the flight attendant and she was like, oh, yeah, go ahead. Go back there. I think she also thought that was a little weird, but I mean, I don't know how many first class passengers want to go all the way back to check out a bathroom.
The flight attendant on my last flight, caught me doing that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty cool, right? It's like an A380."
Was that our flight?
That was our flight, yeah.
Walk back, taking photos. I think a flight attendant saw me taking photos, and they're like, "Everything okay here?" I'm like, "This is the only airline that has this thing." Welcome to Travel Stories with your hosts, Tom Kim and Trevor Mountcastle. We welcome back Han Chicago to the podcast. You are becoming a regular, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Welcome back.
Very good to be back, guys. Thanks for having me again.
So we don't normally do breaking news here, but we'll make sure this is the next podcast episode to be released. So we'll call it breaking, just breaking at the speed of Travel Stories. And Han, we have talked so much, the three of us, about Lufthansa First Class. And I just feel like we have to start with this. You had shared on Twitter, I think it was Twitter, that Ben Schlappig, 1 mile at a time, somebody that we all know and love, had wanted to fly the Allegris First product. I think it was Newark to Munich. And at the 11th hour, or, they're in the lounge, and they're suddenly, quote unquote, waitlisted for first.
Yeah, that's right.
So you found the article. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, from what I understand, Ben had booked business class, like a good, cheap business class from the U.S. to Munich in Allegris, business class originally, and then he was able to upgrade for about $2,000 to first class. And I guess you can do this. I wasn't actually aware of this, that you could do this in Allegris. But he did that, and so he thought he was all set. And he goes to the airport. I guess Newark is where he was originating for this flight. And they eventually tell him while he's waiting in the lounge that one of the seats is broken and can't be used at all. Like, you can't even sit in there at all. Then they propose that one of the proposals is that he sit in the middle, the big middle seat of Allegris First with his dad, which it's a little tight in there. So I don't think that would really work.
A little awkward for two grown men, right?
Yeah. And then I think the first kind of compensation that he's offered is €2,000, which I guess is more than the $2,000 US. But when I was reading this, I'm not really up on what is considered fair compensation when this kind of thing happens in first class with a European carrier. But my understanding from comments is that you're usually given not only the upgrade fee, but then I think 75% of what the ticket costs. And that was not what was offered. And when Ben said that the original offer for compensation was given, like €2,000, he said, that wasn't good enough. the Lufthansa agent said, "That's your opinion." So that's
well, and
is that kind of the thing you want to hear?
And it's interesting, when we were involuntarily denied boarding and downgraded, or one person was involuntarily denied boarding, I think we got like €400 from Air Austrian. And they still got us to where we needed to go. We had to fly through Frankfurt. I can't remember what episode we talked about that, but that was our Thanksgiving trip back in November. And they did give us €400 because one of our passengers, one of the three of us, was downgraded denied boarding on the originally scheduled flight. I have to believe, if that's just from a business class perspective, that it would be far higher, especially if you paid actual cash to upgrade. So, I mean, that's really astonishing to me that Lufthansa, has fallen that far.
And Lucky said in the article that was like a Han Circle, customer service agents. It's supposed to be like their best of their best. And that seems surprising.
I mean, he's quick to say that agents in the lounge in Newark are trying to do what they can, but that Han Circle agent that I guess is calling from Frankfurt or wherever overseas, like, that was the person who said, "That's your opinion." And was kind of rigid and not really being creative and coming up with a solution. But I guess eventually what happens is that Ben is in the first class seat that's not broken, and then his dad gets one of those top bulkhead business suites in Allegris, which I heard are really pretty good. But that said, that's not what they paid for. So I'm a little surprised by how bad that response was, but maybe I shouldn't be. I mean, you guys fly Lufthansa First and Lufthansa generally way more than I do.
Yeah, and I hate to admit it, but I think when EROPs happen, they're not amazing. Many, many years ago, the first time I took my mother-in-law to Asia, actually the only time I took my mother-in-law to Asia, and wife, of course, we had flown on an itinerary where I specifically upgraded to Lufthansa First to be able to fly out of the first class terminal. And we got there and there was a strike. And their response was, well, we'll take you in a van over to the land side so you can check in for your United flight. And all they did was put me in United First and no Lufthansa first class terminal, none of that. So, I mean, I can't say that I'm surprised at the poor response, but it's a product that I think we all talk about so highly. It works so spectacularly when it works that we sometimes forget that things don't always work and they don't know how to really recover when that happens.
Knock on wood. Never experienced any irregular operations on Lufthansa, so not had to actually experience what they would do to recover from a mistake or from, a delay or whatever. So I guess I should be thanking my stars that it hasn't happened, and maybe I'm overdue, unfortunately.
That's a really good point. Actually, when I think about it, I took my father to Mainz. My father and my brother. My father was flying home with me. My brother was going onward to Switzerland. And we had a delayed flight due to inoperable lavs. So we started out in the first class terminal. They brought us to the regular first class lounge. And then they drove us out. And they actually did a pretty good job recovering in Dulles. They let my father do the whole... He actually went landside in Dulles because that was back when you had the Mercedes Sprinter van. It was actually faster for him to go landside, and they sort of escorted him through customs and made sure that he made his ultimate flight connecting. I mean, he had to connect via Charlotte and a completely different, he was originally supposed to be on United, and they put him through Charlotte on American. He got home. That was the important thing, and he was happy with the resolution. But that's probably the only satisfactory resolution that we've had with Lufthansa. That, I mean, you always make it, but you lose the luxurious part of the experience, which is why you're flying first class.
I mean, if you read the article in full, it kind of Ben is pointing out kind of the lack of creativity in finding a solution. And they did get to a solution, but, that I guess Ben and his dad could live with. But I guess it plays into all the kind of stereotypes with German rigidity and these are the rules and this kind of thing. And I don't know. I haven't had enough experience with Lufthansa to say that, this is, here they go again or something like that. And frankly, I have to say, if I had not read through the comments and read what Ben wrote, very carefully, I would have thought, oh yeah, they're giving me back my upgrade fee and a little bit more. And, maybe that is fair, but it's really not, because there is actually European law that kind of builds in what compensation should be.
Yeah, the two should stack.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the trip goes. He hasn't written since about it, but there's over 200 comments and climbing on that particular post. So people are paying attention, and there's a lot of people saying, oh, here's a blogger being a diva or whatever. But we know Ben Schlappig, he's not a diva. He's very fair minded, and he's just asking for what he's entitled to, I think, under European law. So
I totally agree. And I'm fairly certain, I think you've shook his hand. I know I've shook his hand and had multiple conversations with him. I know, Tom, you have as well. I mean, he is very down to earth. So I sort of look at comments and I'm like, okay, well, that's a random guy on the internet commenting on somebody who puts themselves out there, puts out a beautiful product. And when I say beautiful product, the reviews, I mean, they have driven so many of my decisions because they're so thorough and, detailed. So kudos to Ben. Appreciate the fact that he shared the experience. If there's anybody that's got more Lufthansa First experience than I have, and many do, I say that in jest. Matthew Klint and Ben are probably the experts of our time on that have actually written about Lufthansa First Class. It's just a shame to see that. But let's pivot. The reason we wanted to have you on here is, as I was lounging, enjoying gin and tonics in Madrid, you, sir, over Labor Day, or Memorial Day, I should say, were apparently commuting between Europe and North America.
Yeah, I'm just now realizing your itinerary, and you crossed the Atlantic twice.
That's
in
right.
like a couple of days.
Yeah.
That's extreme, my friend. It's extreme.
Before Han gets into that, I have a short little story that I have to share because Tom and I were supposed to do that way, way back.
When were we supposed to do that?
Remember, there used to be a Dublin to Honolulu fare for like $1,500.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's right.
And then we nested that with a fare from something to something. It was like Philly to Dublin. And we were supposed to do a Philly, Dublin, back to the US to Honolulu, back to Dublin, and then back to Philly. And I had an EROP, so I got all the credit. Like I got like 150,000 miles because it was back when they had like the TransAtlantic transit. Like you got like 50,000 points when you transatlantic or transited the transatlantic once, and like 2 itineraries, we did it twice. And then like there was another one for like 35,000 if you did more than 7,000 miles. Or there was a collection of these things back in like 2015, I think.
Well, I actually flew that, if you remember, but I don't remember if I was doubling back through Dublin. I think it was.
You did. I followed you. You flew it. I didn't.
I apparently was even crazier because then I doubled the Atlantic and I crossed the Pacific too. And yeah, that actually was a pretty ridiculous flight now that I remember.
Yeah. The only reason I didn't do it was because
it wasn't in first class.
It was business class.
It was business. I know.
It was the nice A330 business class in the old US Airways. I always forget what that's called, but it's still like a reverse herringbone suite.
Envoy class.
I didn't do it because I screwed up my back on the way making the flight because of an EROP that I think we need to talk about that trip in depth on a future podcast.
Have we not covered that in a podcast?
I think that one was still in the queue. And in all fairness, we probably need to put that on the queue.
That was an interesting trip. Mistakes were made.
I'd like to hear about that one.
Oh my God. Yes. Mistakes were very much made. But that was long ago. And I think it was a longer period. I think we had like a little bit longer period of time. You, sir, did this all over Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, no. Speaking of Matthew Klint, and for the record, I have not met Ben in person yet, but I hope to one day. He's definitely a hero of mine, and without a lot of his advice in this blog, I wouldn't be doing a lot of stuff I've been trying. But yeah, he's an inspiration. Now, as for Matthew Klint, he's also an inspiration, and I have met him in person, and he was actually the impetus for part of why I did what I did during Memorial Day weekend. And let me just say that it was because he had written a blog post in Live and Let's Fly, his blog, talking about the potential for devaluation of Aeroplan bookings for Lufthansa First. Because as you remember, Miles and More went dynamic, I think, in early June. So the thought was that maybe that could affect Aeroplan bookings, right? So right now it's like $100K standard from US to Europe and back, and a couple $100. And I was like, I got about 300 plus Aeroplan because I just had them parked there, and I was like, I really want to use them for Lufthansa First. That's the reason I want to do this. So to avoid having to pay an exorbitant devaluation cost, because I thought it might go up another 20, 50K. Who knows? I don't know. I was like, let's just do it now. I have the time. Let me go for it. I've only flown Lufthansa First in the 747. I really want to try on the A380, and then also on the A340 600, because those are actually going to be, I think, put out of commission next winter, I think. So I was like, this is my last shot to get this done, and this could get devalued. So let's do it. Now it turned out it didn't get devalued, thank goodness, right? But I thought at the time it was a strong possibility, given what Matthew's logic made sense to me. And no one else was writing about it, but I don't know. Like you said, Tom, besides Matthew and Ben, there aren't that too many people who have flown Lufthansa First as much as they have and written about it, right? So I was like, all right, this is a decent theory. So that's why I booked it. Now, I didn't think it was going to work out. Actually, I was in London anyway. Like, I flew Virgin Atlantic from New York JFK to London Heathrow, and then I was going to fly JetBlue Mint 2.0 on the A321 back to JFK, and then that was going to pretty much be a quick trip. But then I was like, this wasn't enough. So
so the plan wasn't originally to do 2 transatlantics, right? The plan was to try to just do 1 transatlantic.
That's right.
Is that a fair statement? That's
right. And I thought maybe like I could use the Mint, weirdly enough, like as a backup. But I actually did want to fly the Mint also. It was just kind of weird. Like I wanted to fly the Mint, but then if I could find a really good Lufthansa redemption when that flight was happening, I would have taken that and just dumped the Mint, which I got with Avios anyway. Can't do that anymore from what I hear.
Oh, wait, you can do Avios Mint? I didn't realize.
You could do Qatar Avios to Mint, but I think...
Oh, yes.
Those are not happening anymore, or it's really hard to find those now. They're not as plentiful after the United deal that JetBlue made.
Isn't that interesting? Because I think I booked our Mint with Etihad miles because we had flown Boston Mad. I tell you, the devil's in the details on some of these partner programs and who wants to partner with who. I mean, it used to be that it was just Alaska that was the one that was kind of like, such a mix of, everybody. And now, I mean, you've got JetBlue, you've got Etihad, you've got so many different options. It's just so fun. So if I recall correctly, you got Qatared on your flight out on Virgin.
I did. When I booked it, when was it? I think I booked it back in October of 24. I knew there was a good chance I could get Qatared, but but it was originally the A330-900, or the Neo, one of their newer planes. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's going to be awesome. It's out of JFK. They won't change that, will they? As time drew closer, it changed to the A350. I'm like, I've flown that before, but that's still acceptable. Great. Then I get there, and then it's the A330-300, their coffin upper class, which is just terrible. God. Yeah, just awful.
The ones where you stare at your fellow passengers. Yeah, we got Qatared on Virgin back last year, just the same. I think I was trading messages with you saying, hey, what do you think? It's gone from a 787 to like an A350 to a 787 to this or that. And I think you were like, yeah, man, just accept your fate.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's out of your hands, but it makes me want to pause and think about whether I really want to go over the Atlantic that way, because it really was uncomfortable. The flight is short anyway, JFK to LHR, so you want to be comfortable and be able to sleep. And frankly, the person in front of me is really close to you in terms of proximity, and they were snoring, and it was just bad. It was just bad, and the seat is just very uncomfortable. It's really outdated. I know they're going to revamp those soon, and I think by 2028 they're going to.
It's a very, very narrow seat, right? It's not. It doesn't. You don't have a lot of room. It's not a lot of space.
That's right.
Kind of 2 comments here. Number 1, for our listeners, being Qatared, because Qatar Airways is so known for changing aircraft at the last minute. That's what we mean by being Qatared. And Virgin is doing that changing of aircraft, maybe not the last minute, but reasonably close. But the other thing, all these comments about that seat and having flown that seat, I think now 3 times, Tom keeps on trying to convince me that economy over the Atlantic is not actually that bad. and something, the compelling factor is really Virgin, right? Like Virgin economy is not expensive points wise. They've lowered the costs effectively from a taxes and fees perspective, and they've made the premium cabin or the upper class so uncompelling that, I mean, if there was a reason to fly economy across the Atlantic to London or something, there's your answer.
Well, at least until they retire the A330, which, they're working on that, right? They're working on retiring those seats, but yeah, it's still a while probably.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, true. True.
They're going to retire those pretty soon, I think. And then they're going to revamp the 787s with a new seat, which is going to be closer to the A330 Neo seat, which I think is a Thomson Vantage seat. But that doesn't start till 2028, and they won't complete all of that till 2030. So you're not going to have a high quality Virgin seat across the fleet until 2030. like where you're not rolling the dice is what I'm saying, where you could get caught in that coffin seat.
And Dulles often gets that 787, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And the 330.
Yeah. So, Tom, you've got 5 years of trying to convince me to take an economy flight across the Atlantic. TikTok.
I mean, I don't mind taking premium across the Atlantic, but what? I actually prefer it the other direction because, at least your flight time is longer, right? When you're going west.
I wasn't trying to say that I would actually consider taking economy from Europe to the US. I mean, that flight's long enough to justify it. I'm saying I might be able to bear the concept of flying economy from the US, especially in winter when it's like 4.5, 5 hours.
Yep. Yeah, you got a heck of a tailwind or something. You're going like supersonic.
I will say, though, real quick, though, in defense of the Virgin thing, I mean, at least you get to go to Delta One Lounge at JFK on the way out.
That's exactly where I wanted to get to.
Oh, yeah. How was that? How was that Delta One Lounge?
Guys, to me, that is one of the best lounges in the U.S. and can rival a lot of lounges overseas, too. I mean, the food is really top-notch for me. Like, I've been there twice now, and I've really enjoyed my meals there. First time I went there, I was able to get a massage in one of those chairs. Now you got to get in there and sign up, and there is quite a queue for that. So the facilities in there are great.
It's funny how it used to be the Virgin Clubhouse was where everybody wanted to go at JFK, and now the Delta One Lounge is the place.
The Virgin Clubhouse is garbage compared to that. I'm sorry. It just
the barbs come out. The barbs come out. I love it.
It just is. I've never been a fan of the Clubhouse at JFK. Honestly, I think it just doesn't measure up. Now compared to the one in London, it just doesn't measure up.
Yeah, it's poor. It's poor compared to the one in London. But I mean,
yeah.
I mean, compared to the standard Sky Club, I mean, it's not horrible. But yeah, compared to Delta One Lounge.
I just love the fact that we don't sugarcoat things on the Travel Stories podcast.
And garbage.
Well, I mean, look, you have a limited time there. You can't really lounge hop so much in JFK because some of those lounges are time.
It's not. They're all far. They're so far away from each other, right?
They're far, and then you have the time limit about when you can enter relative to your departure time, right?
Oh yeah.
Like you don't have that in other like I don't think you have that in London so much, but you have that at JFK.
Yeah, I mean, Terminal 3, everything's on top of each other, and they're right next to each other.
Yeah, so I think Delta One is the place. If you have access to the lounge in JFK, I would spend my whole time there. It's just phenomenal. I can't tell you.
I have yet to go. I need to make the pilgrimage, apparently.
And I'm in the same boat. So we're flying Delta One from JFK to Madrid in September, and I'm so excited to get to the E1 lounge. I was actually going to fly up 6 hours before our flight, and now I'm starting to question that. Is it option one, I book a flight that is earlier so I can do some lounge hopping? Or is it option two, where I just go to the Delta One lounge and just hang out the whole time and maybe not even go up 6 hours? Although the problem is with the flights, because we got to go up from DC, you almost need to have that much buffer time because, gosh, I don't know when I'm going to be able to fly Delta One again. So I don't want to put anything to risk.
I think you could get into the Delta One well before 3 hours of departure time. I'm just thinking more about Centurion and places like that, which I know have that hard time limit.
Yeah, but I don't think it's probably worth it to go to Centurion or some of the other places.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been to the Chase one, the new Chase / Etihad one at JFK. I can't think of anything else at JFK that would come close to the Delta One.
Those are the two that I was thinking of. I haven't been to either. And to be honest with you, I don't need much more JFK in my life. Just, it's a necessary evil. It's not the place I want to be, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So Delta One Lounge, great food. Let's see. So you had food, you had the chair massage. Any other features of the Delta One Lounge that you want to share with us? Because honestly, Tom and I haven't been there, and I don't know how many of our listeners have been. So I don't know what they offer. Yeah,
they have the buffet option for food, and it's a wide variety of food. It's high quality, guys. It's like restaurant qualities from what I can tell. And then there's actually a sit down dining place that you have to get on a wait list for, and that is definitely feels like a restaurant.
And that's a wait list based on like anybody that can get into the D1 lounge can get on that wait list to have a sit down a la carte meal.
Yeah, you just have to just go in there and put your name on the list. And usually my 2 times being there, I think I waited no more than 20 minutes before I was seated. But I made that a priority. Although I would say if you're going to go there and you want some of those massage things or, those other kind of services, that's probably the first thing you should put your name on for a list.
Priorities. Get your name on the list.
So we got the checklist. Get your massage, get your a la carte dining, and then just enjoy the ambiance of the lounge.
The ambiance is great. The great views of the tarmac, different types of seating. It's really large. I've seen some recent pictures where there has been a wait outside, but both times I've gone, and I think it was earlier in the day, not like late in the day when I went, it was fine. Like there was no issues.
More reason to get there early.
Yeah, that's right. So, I can't recommend it highly enough. I haven't been to the one in LA. I heard that one's smaller, but that one seems also really, really great too. But the JFK one is just one of the best lounges I've been to.
That's high praise.
Yeah. So high praise. Okay. So I think we kind of roundabout talked about your Virgin flight out. I think we got the Delta one. I'm happy that we spent the amount of time we spent on Delta one because that's one I'm personally excited about. And sometimes we do these podcasts more for us than our listeners, and sometimes the other way around. But I'll take the blame for that one. So, did you spend much time in London?
No, in a sense, no, because when I got to London, I had gone on a short trip earlier this year, and I did spend proper time in London and hanging out there. So I had been trying, I was like, I should go and do something, but it started to rain, and then I got less motivated, and then I don't know, I just ended up hanging out at the hotel.
Did you use the arrival facilities at Heathrow?
I did, yeah. No, the Virgin Arrival Lounge is good. I mean, the food isn't incredible or anything, but it's nice to have arrivals.
You can have a full English, right?
No, you can, yeah.
I do like a full English breakfast now and again.
It's great to have that when you're coming in, and I think I was supposed to meet up with a friend, but a lot of plans just didn't come through. And then I was just less motivated to go to town. And then I was kind of like a little bit obsessing about like, I should really get this Lufthansa First thing. And I kept searching seats.aero obsessively. And then I'm like, what are you doing? I was really like kind of having a little bit of a minor meltdown.
I'm having some flashbacks of being at the hotel with Trevor, and we both have our laptops open to seats.aero and Aeroplan.
It's kind of lame. It's kind of lame that I'm there like looking at seats.aero instead of like going to London. But that's what happened. And I'm not going to lie. That's what happened. And then I wasn't finding the availability.
London's not going anywhere, right? It's always going to be there, right? So.
It's above water level. It's going to be there.
So I couldn't find the award space that I thought I could. I was like, I'm going to find it, and then I'll just hop over to Frankfurt or Munich, and then go back to the U.S. And it just wasn't opening up for some reason in the way that I thought.
Oh, so your original plan was to fly back through Germany only one time across the Atlantic, round trip across the Atlantic.
Yeah, and then just go home and be a normal like regular person, and that's not what happened. So
that's never how it works out. I mean, this is the community. This a regular normal person.
So where does JetBlue fly out of at Heathrow? Like which terminal does it fly out of?
I think it was
the Queen's Terminal, or
I think it was the Queen's Terminal. That's right. It is the Queen's Terminal.
Was it in that far area over by the Singapore and United lounges, or was it closer?
I think it was closer. I mean, there's no lounge to really go to. I mean, JetBlue doesn't have lounges, right?
Yeah, what a big oversight. I mean, I can't. It's crazy that they sell this class of service and there's no place for you to wait.
No, I was just in a regular part of the terminal and I can't even remember what I had there. It was just regular food court stuff.
The Queen's Terminal used to have a Priority Pass lounge. And they had a Priority Pass restaurant, too.
I think they still do, but I don't know why I didn't go.
Yeah.
I just was just like, I don't think I need this in my life or whatever. And then...
I mean, it's not amazing, so you didn't miss much.
Yeah, so then I was on B6, but before I did find the space, and I was like, okay, you know what? If I make it to JFK on time, if this B6 flight isn't late, I still have like 3 hours to connect back to Germany, and it's going to be on the A380, and it'll be through Munich. And I've wanted to go to the first class lounges in Munich, and then onward to Frankfurt. And I was like, do I do it? I'm like, yeah, I do it. So I did it.
So let me get this right. You fly in on B6 into the JetBlue terminal, right? I assume they have the customs in JetBlue's terminal.
I mean, at JFK, yeah.
Yeah. And then you transit to, what is it, T1 to get to Lufthansa. Did you get in the Lufthansa lounge?
I did get in the Lufthansa lounge at JFK. I didn't even know they had a first class lounge at JFK.
I've always wanted to visit that lounge. I've never had a chance to use the JFK lounge.
I wasn't even aware that they had one, but like there was expedited security.
It's like multi-floors, right? Like isn't like it's like on the third floor or something?
Yeah, it's got
2
floors, and then
we know that from Matthew Klint.
Yeah, no, it was actually really nice. The food was really good, and the great thing was that I got to skip a bunch of security because when you're flying Lufthansa First, again, a lot of the frictions disappear, and since it was Memorial Day weekend, it was pretty busy. But they got me right into the lounge.
Give you like an escort or something on landside? Like they actually escort you through security?
Yeah.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, they did that for me, and I guess there's some kind of other lounge in there that maybe it's a priority pass or something where you pay extra and you can hang out there and then you could sneak in through. I can't remember. Like it's like
are you talking about the security?
Yeah, there's a shortcut to security.
Yeah, they have that weird thing. They have that weird shortcut.
And so
we saw that when we did JAL a few years ago. Yeah,
so when you are in Lufthansa First, originating from JFK, they take you through that same thing. So you get to cut the line that way, kind of. Yeah, so that was unexpected. I was expecting nothing at JFK as far as a lounge experience that was dedicated to Lufthansa, but they definitely have one, and it's pretty cool. And then I was on the A380, and I'd been, I'm trying to fly all the A380s on all the airlines that still fly them. And after Lufthansa, I think
hard to do.
Yeah, the only one I think I have left now is Korean.
Oh, you've done China Eastern or China Southern, or are they no longer flying those?
They don't fly them anymore, I don't think. So I'm not counting the ones that have stopped flying the A380s, but the ones that are still active.
No, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
So, so then I was on the A380. And then, of course, I remembered your guys talking about the special feature for men.
Oh, golly.
And I checked out.
Did you have the special purser, too?
My purser wasn't as special as yours, but the captain was funny, though, because the captain came out and he was like, he asked me, where are you heading ultimately? I'm like, I'm heading to Frankfurt. Oh, he's like, well, you could have taken the 747 that flew a little bit later, but would get you to direct. And then I said, no, but I've always wanted to fly the A380. And he's like, yeah, it's a better plane. I was like, wow, that's some fighting words, but that was interesting. So, and it was great. I was really happy to fly into Munich. I've never been to Munich, and now I really want to spend time in Munich.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
I think Munich's the better location, right, as far as visiting, because like compared to Frankfurt.
Yeah, I mean, the Andaz is not in the best part of town. Oh, well, no. I should say the Andaz is in a very nice part of town, but it's not the most convenient to the things that you want to see. But there's a lot of beautiful stuff to do, cafes, restaurants, and everything. But you've got so much culture in Munich, and then if you can get out of the city, I feel like in Frankfurt you have to get out of the city, but in Munich you can stay in the city and still see a lot of beauty.
A lot of interesting things.
I have to ask, you're connecting in Frankfurt or in Munich to go to Frankfurt. What was the connection experience? Did you get into a first class lounge? Did you get the chance to have some schnitzel? Did you get because when we do Frankfurt, we usually like go out of our way to go to the first class terminal and get that great experience. What is it for Munich?
I had been in the first class terminal before, so I really wanted to check out Munich's first class lounges because I'd read a lot about them. And in fact, just 3 or 4 days before I arrived, they had just reopened the one in Terminal 2 that had been closed for about 6 months after they did some renovations. So there's 2 first class lounges for Lufthansa at Munich. One is in the satellite terminal, and then the other one in Terminal 2, main terminal. And I was able to visit both, and it was great.
The satellite terminal is the international flights, right?
I believe so.
Or is that the other way?
I think they both have Schengen and non-Schengen. I think they both have that. But I was dropped off at the satellite terminal, So I went to the satellite terminal first class lounge first, and it happened to be, I think, was it white asparagus season? Does that sound right, Trevor? Does that ring a bell?
It does indeed. Yeah. We love that white asparagus.
Yeah, it was really good. They had not only asparagus, but asparagus soup and all these other kinds of seasonal dishes. And of course, I had schnitzel, and it was just a really nice experience. Now, that one in the satellite, I think, also has like a little bit of an outdoor area you can go to. And I sat out there a little bit for a while, and I think it's like L-shaped with like ceiling to floor windows, and it's great to see the views. Now I wish Lufthansa, the first class terminal had that, but it doesn't, right? And just the views are really nothing to speak about.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also the same level as the terminal. So like your best views is watching the crew get onto their buses and load their suitcases onto the little trailers. And
okay, if you're into that. Okay.
I mean, it's still entertaining to watch, but yeah, it would be wonderful if like they raised it up a couple of levels so you could see over the terminal.
Yeah,
and actually see aircraft. Yeah, but I'll take the standalone terminal.
Sure, no, for sure. So just like with first class terminal, they look at your passport, and you don't have to go through all that stuff in the regular terminal, for lack of a better word. They take care of you in the lounge, right? And then I was there for like 90 minutes, and then I rode the shuttle train to the main terminal, and then I checked out the renovated first class lounge there. And that was also good. I had, again, some more food, and I think the decor is a little bit more modernized now compared to the old pictures. I hadn't obviously been to these lounges before, but yeah, I mean, I don't think like the design is like, I think it's just like minimalist design, right? Like that's just the common thing that in a lot of lounges, and Lufthansa is no different than that. Like there's nothing really distinctive about them, but they're very nice.
They haven't really changed their styling in a while. I mean, like I feel like we visited. I know Trevor's the same. We visited these lounges multiple times over the years, and they're pretty. I mean, I don't think they look outdated, but at the same time, they've been pretty
consistent,
much the same. Like furnishings wise, have been very similar for many years.
But the interesting thing I've always found is that it's still up to date, right? Like, I mean, the current onboard product is getting a little tired. Let's be honest with that.
Right.
But I feel like it's minimalist, but it's still luxury and stylish, like in the lounges and everything.
Right. There wasn't a comment to deride it, but yeah, I think it has been pretty consistent. Like, I don't feel like it's not like every year they go and like they rip out all the furniture and bring in new stuff.
To put things into perspective, when I started flying Lufthansa First Class, we had that like NASA 747 style seat. And if anybody doesn't know what I'm saying, just Google the NASA 747 that used to transfer the space shuttle. And they had the same first class seat that Lufthansa had when I started flying. They changed the motif once. On the 747-400, they had the bed and seat. I never got to do that. Tom, you did. I'm jealous. But even so, the same seat was on the A380 without the bed, just a lay flat. But they haven't changed that seat in, it's got to be 12 to 15 years. I mean, we're only getting to Allegris like now. So they've had a very, very consistent product. Not a bad product.
Is that all Boeing's fault, maybe? Is that do you blame it on the 777?
No, I don't blame it on the 777 because they have plenty of Airbuses that they could have done something with. The thing that I think Lufthansa does horribly is the fact that they never got a best of breed business class seat. The business class seat, they went from an angled lay flat 222 configuration to a non-angled lay flat, but like curved into your partner so you can play footsie 222 configuration. I mean, they sort of just said to the world, we don't really think business class is something that's important to us. And finally, now with Allegris, they've got that, but now they've made that product. They've diffused that seat. So now there's something like 8 or 10 different varieties, depending upon the aircraft. I just don't know how you can have a consistent customer experience if you can't deliver a consistent hard product.
No, I think that's right.
And maybe I'm just getting on my soapbox. I apologize.
I think it's valid. I've not flown Allegris in any cabin yet, but I have flown Lufthansa on the 747. Was it 400? Does that sound right, Tom? you guys?
Well, the 400 is the one with the all business class, right? Nowadays.
Yeah, that's the one I flew on the upper deck. And it was not a good experience, guys. It's just you're two on top of other people.
That might be the part of the decision making. I mean, Lufthansa wants the density. They want to have that many seats to sell. And the way they do it is offering less space.
I would offer that the only thing that's more dorm room feeling than United's old dorm style 777 and 747 with the 242 configuration in business class is the Lufthansa 747-400. It is just so tight. I think in some places on that 747, you've got like people on top of each other up in the nose, people on top of each other on the upper deck. It's not a luxurious experience. We've flown only that 747-400 before they took that off the Dulles route of, I think it was like Lufthansa 419 I think it was 419 because I think 417 is the 747-8i or was. I don't even know what they're flying now. They put a 340 on it at some point. But anyway, the 744 is just probably the single worst product of Lufthansa's aircraft options.
I mean, unless you get the Captain Kirk seat, it might be okay. But that's on the lower deck.
Oh, yeah, up in the nose?
Yeah. But I mean, outside of that, all the seats are probably pretty terrible. And
it's got to feel so weird to be in the Captain Kirk seat, though.
Probably.
It's just like you're open to everybody. Like, you know, like you're in the middle. Like
you're just like engage. But anyway, wrong captain. But anyway.
I think that's Captain Picard, but we'll go with it.
Wrong captain. But what I wonder about Lufthansa, honestly, guys, is whether there was like a pride factor. Like, why did they just take like a generic business class seat? Why didn't they ever do that? Like, why did they just take the United seat, which I think others have adopted, and that gives you the density. That probably would have, and had that implemented instead of Allegris waiting for like 7 years for it to be implemented. And now it's like pretty much almost like an outdated product by the time it was introduced.
I mean, I feel like Allegris is a modification of the United seat. I could be wrong, but like, I mean, it feels similar, but like then they had to be fancy about it, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Well, I mean, Lufthansa does it, and they like to be distinctive. Like, look at all these things. I mean, on your trip alone, I mean, you have all these aircraft that have one-off things that no other airline has in the world, right? Your A380 and the urinal. And you're about to talk about the next thing.
Yeah.
And then it gets even worse, though, because, like, I mean, what, Swiss can't fly their first-class Allegris-style product because it's too heavy? And now they've got to put, like, ballast in the stern or the tail of the aircraft? I mean, if you're going to get fancy, you got to do it right.
You make mistakes.
Like, do it right. Yeah.
But, they have, like, Lufthansa Technique, right? And they have all these like new technology things that they love to try out, like all like the special coating, right, on the planes, right, that's supposed to reduce the drag, and all these other kind of like weird options that Airbus has available. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll take it. Like Airbus offers it. Apparently, Lufthansa buys it, and they give it a shot.
And I think that's probably more because of the Technic aspect than anything else, because they they have to have every aircraft. It's like a rule.
It seems to be an advantage for them. It's not a bug; it's a feature.
Yeah. So, Han, you did the lounge. You flew to Frankfurt. Where did you stay in Frankfurt? You were only there for, what, a night, right?
I stayed where you stayed. I think it was a Sheraton. Didn't you stay at the Sheraton?
We did, yeah. My God.
Yeah, so I missed you by a couple of days.
What a jarring experience. So I can't remember if I shared this on the podcast when from our Memorial Day trip report or mine. Get there late, and there's a long line. And I just skipped the line because they have a little, area for titanium or whatever elite level. And I literally had like the Ryan Bingham experience of a nice Asian woman kind of pointing out and saying, "Hey, there's a line here." And I said, "Oh, well, I have status, and this says that it's for people with status." And she's like, "Oh." And I felt really bad for her because we ended up getting into the elevator with her at some point afterwards. And she couldn't even figure out the elevator. And I was just like, "You're just having a bad day. I feel for you. I'm so sorry." But like, it was really one of those hilarious moments of like, status matters. It's like I wish they had a little brochure to give her.
I have no hotel status except for what credit cards give me. So whatever. I don't know, Trevor, how that feels.
Well, did you have a really long line too, or no?
No. I got there during the day, and I was the only person in line. So it was just boom, right through. And, I just hung out at that awful airport.
It is an awful airport.
It's just a terrible airport.
You gotta love the first class experience, but I don't know why Frankfurt is. It's one of the least pleasant airports, I think, in Europe. And considering that you've got Charles de Gaulle and Heathrow included there, that's saying something.
I mean, the Lufthansa lounges are nice if you can get into them. I mean, I feel like that's acceptable.
That's why you need to fly. You need to fly Lufthansa first or even business, because the immigration guys in there is just terrible. The passport control, they just treat everyone like cattle, like really bad. And to avoid that friction, I've never been treated so badly except at Frankfurt. And I didn't do anything. They just like snapped away my passport from my hand and put it into some drawer, and then made me go somewhere to check all my belongings and my person.
Wow.
And it was fine. They didn't find anything because I had nothing to hide. And then they gave me back my passport and I was able to make my flight. But I was like, is this necessary? Like, fine, you have to check me. But the way that the German lady snapped the passport out of my fingers was just really uncalled for. And I was like, I don't need this. This is not pleasant.
And they have a global entry equivalent if you wanted to sign up for it, which is amazing.
Oh, if they did, I would sign up for it. Yeah, I'd sign up for that in a second if I could.
Well, just take a look. They used to. I'm pretty sure they do. I probably need to sign up for it myself. But that's interesting that you say that. Like, I had a bad experience at security. And part of that experience was because I usually go through Lufthansa First Class terminal where they don't care at all. I mean, they care. They care, but they use kid gloves with you, right?
Sure.
Right.
This guy had to have every possible liquid, any of our bags, into a baggie. Like, I was like, what is this, London Heathrow? I mean, it was horrible. And we went through the family line, and it was almost like they were taking joy and making every family just miserable. I mean, with German inefficiency, no less. Like, it wasn't even German efficiency. Like, this was, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to like really just make this as painful as I can for you. And I'm not usually a hater of Frankfurt Airport. But like, when you're not going through the preferred Lufthansa First Class apparatus, it is not an amazing experience.
Yeah. And just even, I would say, the restaurant options and kind of common areas aren't that great. It's a little grim in there.
Yeah, the terminal's very gray and it's very kind of like dull. And, if it's like kind of overcast outside, it's just, you feel like you're almost in an Eastern European country or something.
That's right.
Well, I wasn't going to go that far, but I suppose we can. I suppose we could.
I mean, it's got that kind of feel sometimes, It's not very cheery in there.
I will say the Sheraton restaurants, they're well lit and it's nice to be there. Like, I don't mind that. That's okay. And so it's good. That for an airport lounge, that's pretty good. I would have to say. I've definitely been in worse ones.
So we didn't get into the lounge. I mean, we stepped in the lounge briefly, but they were already closed. And so we ended up having to go to that bar area. And I felt like it was like the worst experience that I could have had at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, just because that's when we arrived. I mean, the service was slow. The food was, I think that meal was the most expensive meal of my entire trip. And we had like steak dinners in Madrid. I was just so disappointed with the experience. I was like, my feeling was, you guys are charging these prices. You're getting away with it because we are just such a captivated audience. I mean, we tried to eat in the airport, but most things were already closed. And it was like, okay, you want a stale pretzel, or should we just pay, highway robbery for whatever's at the hotel? And of course, with a 3.5-year-old, you're going to go with whatever makes her happy because that makes you happy. But if I recall, your flight out, at least the next day, allowed you to go through the proper security and the proper experience at the first class terminal, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. No, that's right. You go past the cab stand, coffee place, or wherever that is, you walk over there. I got there at the crack of dawn or whatever, whenever it opens. I think I was literally the first passenger in there, and I spent like 6, 7, 8 hours in there. I don't know.
Oh, you are
as one does.
As one
a brother in arms. A brother in arms. I would even be doing that with my family. Like, I mean, that it's a must do. I mean, that's how you do it.
I think I've spent 12 hours in that place connecting to Asia.
In fact, actually, one time they made steak sushi for us because I don't eat normal sushi. So they had like little steak sushi, and then I think for my wife they had like normal sushi. Like brought it to you, in the little seats overlooking the flight attendants getting into their buses.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done this. Like I took a shower there, and I also got one of those private sleeping rooms, and they're pretty nice. Yeah, I think they're probably nicer than the El Safo ones. Actually, when you're in there.
Well, it's not en suite, right? It's not like you have a bathroom there with you.
That's true. You don't have that. That's true. Yeah, you don't have the ensuite. You're right. But in terms of the finishings and all that stuff, I think it's pretty nice in there. And after that, had some steak, and I can't remember all the different things I ate in there, but that's what you do. You just eat and then go watch some TV European news about, I'm sure it was something about what's happening here with our president and U.S. relations with Europe at the time, and that was happening, and you're watching that, and you're watching sports and whatever. You
can go duty-free shopping.
Oh, that duty-free shop is actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
No cigar?
I actually asked about that, and they said you have to bring your own cigar. Like they didn't sell cigars there. I was like a little disappointed by that.
I bought them at the duty-free store.
Oh, I should have done that. I should have been prepared. I assumed they would sell them in there, but they didn't.
Well, no. The duty-free shop that's attached to the first class terminal.
Oh, is that okay?
You can buy them there, like in a pack of 3 or a pack of 4. I do not do cigars very often. I think the cigar I did or that we did when we were there last year was specifically to celebrate my daughter's birth, who's, like I said, is 3.5 now. So I was a little overdue.
Nice.
Little tardy to the party there.
Yeah, I should have done that, but I don't know. I just didn't. And then it's just they do it really well. My only one small complaint, Trevor, about the first class terminal, and you're going to say this is nitpicky, but when you're sitting in certain spots and you're looking outside the windows and you see barbed wire, when you see barbed wire outside,
yeah, I hear you.
It's just not really a good look. And I know they have that for security reasons, but you don't want to see barbed wire in Germany.
Yeah, that's a good point. It has a bit of a connotation. Yeah, okay, good point.
So that was my one little complaint while I was there. I was like, they should kind of remove that from my view as a first class passenger because it's kind of a little depressing, guys. So
I'm not going to call that nitpicky. I mean, I think that's actually really a good observation. I mean, we realize that those things are necessary around airports, but you can do barriers differently, especially in a luxurious area.
My one complaint about the first class terminal is, I know they're going to come and get you, but that's the one thing that always makes me nervous. Like, are they going to forget me? Am I going to miss my flight? They never do, but I always feel a little nervous.
So I'm similar to that, except I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, if you told me when you were going to come get me, then I would know when I need to go step to the bathroom so that you don't miss me. Because that's more my concern. Like I'm one of those people, like you see a clean bathroom, use it before so you don't have to use the lav if you don't need to. It's probably TMI for our audience, but it's just one of those things. Like it's ingrained in me when I was a kid. It's like, okay, you got a clean bathroom, use it before we have to get on the plane because the plane's never going to be as good as what you can get on the ground. And so like, if you don't know when they're going to pick you up, you're sort of like, okay, well, do I go now? Or maybe I should wait 10 minutes or maybe I should go. And it's that same uncertainty. But
it's that last 10 or 20 minutes. It's just like, it's like you can't really relax because you're like, they're going to be coming for me. They're coming for me.
Yeah. Should I get another drink? Am I going to waste it? Should I not? Should I order the drink? Should I just go up to the bar to get the drink? Because if I just ask for it, it might not come in time.
Okay, enough. Okay, we covered this.
Should I order dessert?
One thing you should do, though, is ask for a duck, and they don't just give you those ducks automatically.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yes,
so true.
you should
Yes.
ask for the duck. Ask for the duck. Yes.
You got to be proactive in asking for the little rubber duck. So I was able to get 3 ducks in total, and I was very pleased by not just at first class terminal, but the other lounges in Munich. So
Okay.
What styles were they?
2 were like kind of generic blue ducks, but one was kind of this transparent duck with like dice in the middle of it with like a weird feathery ring around it. It was really cool. Like it was just really flamboyant kind of duck.
That sounds like a TravelSort duck.
Yeah, I don't know, but that was my favorite duck of the ducks that I got. So
yeah, usually Munich is the black duck, and I think Lufthansa or I think Frankfurt is the silver duck, if I remember correctly, or maybe I got that backwards. But I mean, we have so many ducks. And candidly, all this conversation, I'm still trying to find the way home from our September trip, and all this conversation is making me want to set alerts for Lufthansa First Class out of Barcelona via Frankfurt or Munich to fly home.
I'm surprised that wasn't already the case, my friend.
It gets expensive. I mean, I need 3 seats now. It gets a little pricey.
That's a lot. That is a lot of seats. It's a lot of seats.
I mean, if I can't get, in my mind, if I can't get a meaningful amount of time in a first class lounge or terminal, because for me, Lufthansa is more valuable on the ground than it is in the air. Like the experience.
Oh, interesting.
The experience for me on the ground has always been what matters so much more. I mean, very similar to Thai, and almost.
It does add a lot to the value. I mean, because, to be fair, like we've talked about, the seat itself, nothing to really write home that much about.
And they do so much like kind of random stuff with the food on board that like the food's not always as amazing as it is on the ground in the lounge.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Although, it's hard to have bad caviar.
That's right.
No, caviar, yeah. But like, I mean, I've had hen, fowl, goose. Sometimes you just want a steak. I'm just being honest. Like, I can have venison. I've had venison at 40,000 feet. But like, I mean, I think I've had the fewest amount of steaks on Lufthansa's first class product.
That's a good point. They don't always have it, right?
Yeah. And so for me, I want to have a full meal. I want to have my schnitzel. I want to have a nice dessert. I want to have my white asparagus or asparagus soup or all of the above, because I know that then I get on board, and if they have some random stuff, I'm going to be able to try it, but I don't feel like I need to eat it and force myself to eat something that I'm not going to enjoy because it's a little bit too gamey or something else. That's just sort of my experience. And I know I'm a huge fan of Lufthansa, right? Like I'm an advocate, but the onboard meal services
can be unpredictable.
Exactly. Unpredictable.
So, Han, did you get a Porsche? What took you to your plane?
I think I got it in an Audi.
Oh, they have Audis now? I haven't had an Audi. Usually it's a Mercedes or it's a Porsche or it's a Mercedes van. Ooh, that's fancy. Now I really want to fly Lufthansa first class. Maybe I get an Audi.
Yeah.
But we were like pretty far out on the tarmac when we flew into Frankfurt on the A340-600.
Yeah, you go out and then to the right to like a remote stand, and then you get the experience of like walking all the way up. Did you get that, or were you at a gate?
Well, they drove me fairly far, and then let me see.
But was it like a remote gate, or? I
think so. I don't think it was super far, actually.
Okay. Yeah, the downside with the 747-8s was they're always so close to the terminal. The first class terminal, right?
Not always. And I'm here to tell you that walking up the stairs to a 747-8i with your luggage and trying to help your father with his luggage is not an insignificant task. So the news jokes about like the president walking all the way up to 1L or 2L.
It's quite a hike.
It is a hike. Having done that myself, actually carrying luggage, it is a bit of a hike. But I'll take that over a gate any day, just because it just has one of those just unique experiences of realizing the enormity of the beautiful bird that you're getting on.
No, I've never flown in an A340-600, and I didn't realize how cool a plane that is in terms of how it looks.
And how long, right?
Yeah, how long it is, and how the 4 engines that are, definitely a lot tinier than an A380 or a 747, those engines. And I was taking a lot of pictures when I got out of the car, and the driver, I think, was amused by my enthusiasm for this stuff. He was just kind of laughing to himself. It's like this guy's a nerd or something. But but
It's funny. It's funny because some drivers are like, "Oh, let me get pictures." Like some drivers are like embracing that. Like, "Oh, you're interested in this? I'm interested in this too. How can I help you?" And some, I guess, just laugh at you.
Yeah, no. This guy was not interested in helping me in that. I mean, it wasn't mean or anything. It wasn't his bag. But like,
he's just like, okay,
this is just a job for him.
Get over it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but he was amused by my enthusiasm and thought it was a little funny. So, but when I got on board, I was like, oh, it looks kind of similar to the configuration for the A380s, and there was no urinal, of course. But you guys kept telling me about that like underground bathroom in or
the underground bathroom. I love
that. In economy. So at some point during the flight, I was like, oh, I got to check out this bathroom. What's the big deal?
You have to.
Yeah.
You need to.
So I was talking to the flight attendant, and she was like, oh yeah, go ahead, go back there. I think she also thought that was a little weird, but I mean, I don't know how many first class passengers like want to go all the way back to check out a bathroom, but like, I went there.
The flight attendant on my last flight, caught me doing that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty cool, right? It's like an A380."
Was that our flight that we both did that?
Flight,
yeah. Walked back, like taking photos, like I think a flight attendant saw me taking photos, and they're like, "Everything okay here?" I'm like, this is the only airline that has this thing. Why can't you memorialize it?
No.
I don't know. The flight attendant that I walked in knew that it was a kind of cool thing, and chided me on. So I was happy about it. And it is interesting. It's like Lufthansa is the only one that has these lavatory. Again, listeners, the reason why it's interesting is because they have these lavatories that are in a compartment, basically in the cargo hold, right? That you take the stairs down from the passenger area. And I think the part that I didn't realize until I flew it was it's not really all the way in the back. It's actually more kind of in the middle of the plane.
That's right.
Yeah, it's definitely like far forward of whatever the last door is. And it takes out like 2 or 3 seats.
I missed it the first time. Yeah.
Like you can sort of see the like tunnel of the stairs.
Yeah, so I had a blast in that plane, honestly, guys. It was a day flight, and we flew over Iceland and Greenland, so there was a lot of cool stuff to look at below. And then on the home stretch to Chicago, it was going on the western edge of Lake Michigan down Wisconsin, and it was just some cool sights, the clouds and the lake, and it just was a really kind of magical ride down as the sun was setting. And landed in O'Hare, and I got rushed to my AA flight to get to Detroit from there. Luckily, I made all my connections. So many times this I could have missed something. Something could have gone wrong, and that's definitely happened to me on these kind of things. But Memorial Day weekend, it all worked out. I was very lucky. I was very fortunate.
And that's an absolute miracle. I have to ask, because I haven't been through T5 in quite some time in Chicago. I think they opened the train again. How is that experience? Because I did it before the pandemic, and it was, pardon my language, hell on earth.
Yeah, no, it's still not great, but it's fine. It's not as it's not as good as JFK's AirTran or whatever they call it, but it's fine. It's working well, and I got to where I needed to go, and I haven't had any issues with it lately. I've flown out of T5 a couple times in the past year or two, so I mean, no one likes T5. The only reason I like T5 at all at O'Hare is because the Delta Sky Club in there is really great, actually. So if you have access to that, it's one of the better Sky Clubs in their system, in my opinion. I
forgot that they had that.
I need to visit it.
Yeah, I think Zach Griff told me, with the Points guy, I think he told me at one point it used to be his favorite Sky Club. I don't know if that's still the case because he has access to a lot more lounges than most, but he told me that a year or two ago.
Problem is, I'm never flying Delta out of O'Hare. So
yeah.
I never even think of Delta from O'Hare. Yeah,
most people don't. Yeah, most people think American or United, right? But that just goes to show, think about taking a carrier that is not it's not a major hub for them. Sometimes you can have a better experience. Sometimes. And I think that's the case for Delta at O'Hare.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, so there's a lot of fanfare about the new 787 product that American has. or has fielded recently, I'll say.
Yep.
And that being this new flagship seat that they were initially flying from, I think, Chicago to LAX.
Yeah.
And so, as I understand it, they had a lot of maintenance issues. It sounds to me like you were on either the inaugural or very close to the inaugural flight from Chicago to LAX just a few weeks after Memorial Day.
Well, there were two planes that were flying that were the two 789Ps or 78Ps. I don't know what they call them, but the P standing for, like, I think premium configuration, where they have a lot of business class seats in them, right? And there were two planes that they had gotten, and the one that was the actual inaugural flight between O'Hare and LAX, that went off without a hitch. That, I think, flew on, I believe, on the 5th of June. I think that's when it flew. And that's the one where all the bloggers and media people were on, and I didn't get on that one. Now, they had a second plane, and it was scheduled also to fly out on the 6th, the next day, but due to some mechanical issues, it didn't fly, and it didn't fly until actually the next day, the 7th, which is when I flew it. So I did get on the inaugural flight for that plane, that specific plane with the registration number. I think it's N8468N. And I only bring that up because some bloggers did write about it, including Ben Schlappig, because it did have a lot of issues when it first went out. And on the day that I flew it, apparently they had fixed it, but then there was a late crew issue, and so it went out a couple hours later than planned. But I did make it to LA, and I hung out with my friend, LA Flyer, out there, Hakan, and we had a great time. Now, the funny thing about that is the only reason I booked that at all was because you guys probably know John NYC on the Twitters. He had been speculating about when that plane would launch, and luckily I found it for 26,500 AA miles between Chicago and LA a couple months before that date. So I was like, that's pretty good redemption for a brand new product. Let me check it out. And then I got 5,000 of it back because they couldn't close the door because it hadn't been
a little bit helps.
Yeah, so they didn't clear it to have the door closed. So it's basically the Adient Ascent seat, the same one that Hawaiian has, and I think Qatared was the launch customer for that seat, and it's highly customized for AA, and it's going to be what they call the flagship suite, and it's going to pretty much be their top seat, right? Because they're going to get rid of first class.
When you say Qatared, you're not talking about Q suites, right?
No, Qatared had this Adient Ascent seat in their 789s because the Q suite wouldn't fit in there. So they were the launch customer for this Adient Ascent seat.
So reverse herringbone style. I'm sorry, the article that I'm looking at,
it is a reverse herringbone style, yeah. And they were the first ones to have. Then Hawaiian got it on their 789s.
Oh, I didn't realize Hawaiian actually had a non-222 configuration.
Yeah, I got to fly it between Honolulu and LAX last summer. I actually like the Hawaiian version better than the AA version. I thought from the pictures I would like the AA version better, but I don't know. Maybe I just got a little freaked out with all the maintenance issues, and
can't blame you.
Yeah, with Boeing having all its issues, just it definitely gave me pause that day when I was about to fly, but I was like, I'll be okay. And it turned out it was okay. But then actually the very next day, that plane was put out of commission again. Like it didn't fly for another couple of days. So I got really lucky to even get on that plane.
Yeah, you dodged the bullet. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did a terrible job with, I got in I think I was in 1K. I think that's the seat I got in, which is like the bulkhead seat.
It's like the flagship suite or something, right?
That's right. Yeah, you get a little more space and it's nice, but like the monitor there is tiny and they skimped out on that. They could have had a bigger monitor in there.
Interesting. Wonder why they did that. That seems silly.
I don't know, because United is going to have this very same seat in their new version of Polaris, and in the mock-ups that I saw there,
their high J config 787s.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it. It is a tiny screen. Like, come on now, guys.
Yeah, and United's version is going to have a larger screen, so I don't know why AA skimped out on the screens. I don't get it.
I feel like it's American. Of course, at least we got a screen. Isn't that the airline that pulled all the screens off?
It is.
Yeah. So I had mixed feelings about it. The main feeling that I have is like, this is supposed to really actually be their top seat, right? Because they're going to get rid of first class, right? and it's kind of sad that first class is leaving. There's going to be no first class in any American carrier pretty soon. And, it's kind of marks the end of an era in that sense. But my feeling is that maybe business class is just, in U.S. carriers, it's just fine. Maybe it's good if you just want to get sleep, It's just like you get in there, you sleep.
I mean, yeah, it's decent, but it's just never exceptional, right?
Yeah.
So a Virgin Atlantic flight attendant told me what fine means for British speak. And I think it's absolutely perfect for your statement. Feelings inside not expressed. I mean, it's adequate, but I mean, I'm looking at this picture of the flagship, like bulkhead seats, and I'm like, what is this? Like a little break for displaying food and beverages. I mean, the screen is like an afterthought. It looks like it was like just kind of like stuck on, and it's like tiny.
Yeah.
It almost looks like the size of my thermostat. Maybe not that small, but like in perspective of the space that it's in, it looks like that proportion.
Right. Why not maximize it like most other carriers are doing?
Yeah. And if you're going to charge a premium for that front row, which they will, you should have a bigger screen and some other stuff. And it's just not there. So it just kind of made me think, okay, it's fine. I'm sure I'll be comfortable flying to London or wherever it's going to go, but it's not going to be special. And at this point, after flying all these things, I'm just always looking for that kind of special feeling. And I have to say, as much as we started this episode off about bagging on Lufthansa for this and that, I would say they did deliver that for me, especially on both flights, really. And I want to point out one thing, like the highlight of the trip, which I didn't share up until this point, was actually the flight between Munich and Frankfurt. It was actually on an A319, and you wouldn't think it would be anything special, but it was European business, which is just economy with an empty seat in between you and a customer.
Yeah, a little empty seat.
But it happened to be that I was sitting next to a pilot who was being positioned there to fly, and she was a young pilot, and she's originally from Austria. Not going to give her name or anything, but she was really cool. Gave me really a lot of like insight into what it takes to become a Lufthansa pilot, and shared a lot of stuff about life in Austria and life in Germany, in Bavaria versus the northern part of Germany. And it was just like really insightful. And those are the kind of conversations that I'm always looking for when I'm traveling, from people in the industry or elsewhere. I always have interesting conversations with either pilots or crew. And that was like a really special part of the trip, I have to say. And like that kind of stuff you can't really program, you just luck into that.
Well, you're not sitting next to anyone in first class usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's those personal connections that are just so haphazard, and you just happen to, I mean, you've got to be in a position ready to have that interaction, and the other person has to be in that position to be open to such an interaction. And when that happens, it's just such a beautiful thing.
No, it was really cool. Like, I think she appreciated that I had any questions about the industry, and I don't think she expects anyone to really know much about aviation or anything. And as you know, it's turbulent times for us in the world on various fronts, and it's interesting to hear it from a different perspective, right? From someone in Europe and what they think is happening in the world. So just seeing her perspective on not only aviation but the world was really great, and really appreciated that aspect of the trip. And that's one of the things that make me want to travel. And I'm going to miss this. And I don't have anything booked. You're going to ask me, what do you have booked? I got nothing booked, guys. I got nothing, unfortunately.
Isn't it such an awkward position? It's just like one of those things, like we actually intentionally didn't want to travel very much over the summer. We still have 2 trips before our September trip. But I mean, for us, that's very little. Like, I mean, I'm not going to get on a plane. There's going to be 4 or 5 weeks between the last time I got on a plane and the next time I get on a plane. And it's actually a little bit of a freeing feeling to me, given how the summer travel and, the storms and all that other stuff. But it's still a very awkward feeling not knowing what that next trip, you're planning. I mean, Gary Leff has written, many times that people get more joy out of planning and anticipating the trip than actually taking it. I don't know that I agree with that statement after the amount of trip planning that I've been doing and am doing right now, especially for some like 4-seat type trips that are stressing me out. But I get the concept. And you always want to have something that you're looking forward to. And so, I mean, I can totally see how hard that is right now, with nothing sort of on the horizon. That said, if you're around on Thanksgiving and want to be in Southeast Asia, we're going to be there. We could catch up.
Okay, I might have to think about that. No, I mean, what I'm doing is now I've done a lot of burning, and now I'm doing a lot of earning, and there's a lot of interesting cards coming up or have been introduced, and if I can qualify for them, I'm trying to get them, and there's all these other new interesting techniques to earn more miles, right? So I'm kind of trying to learn more on that side of the equation, but it's a little weird because
acquisition mode.
Yeah, acquisition mode.
You got to replenish.
Yeah, but it's a little weird because I don't really have a specific goal, and usually I've often had like a specific goal, and I could say the only real specific goal that I have is to fly that A380 on Korean Air at some point. And first, I will do that, but it's not something like I'm afraid that that's going to disappear or anything. It's just I got to figure out.
Are you going to try to earn Korean miles with SkyPass, or?
I already earned them. I got some U.S. bank cards, and I've earned them, and I think I have the requisite amount of miles to at least fly one way. So I have to figure it out.
It's U.S. Bank, not Bank of America, or is it both?
It's U.S. Bank that has the SkyPass cards. Yeah, SkyPass cards. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
we've been sitting on 240,000 Korean Air miles pretty much since Chase stopped transferring, which I think might be 10 years now.
Yeah, man.
And we have had the hardest time to use them. Like the fact that they've only expired once and we were able to get them renewed. I am so scared of losing them, but I just can't figure out how to actually put them to use. So listeners, if you've got ideas, please comment. We would love any suggestions for redeeming 240,000 points, possibly for 2 or 3 people.
What route is that they're flying? Because I mean, they've kind of cut back on the number of.
Don't they still do the JFK Incheon?
Yeah, they got JFK Incheon. They got LAX Incheon.
Do they still do Atlanta?
Atlanta still has a 747, as far as I know.
Oh, it used to have a 380. We flew the 380 in, I don't know, the mid-teens.
Yeah. And supposedly Korean's working on a new first class seat, but who knows when that's going to get introduced. I mean, everyone's planning a new first class seat, but because of the Boeing's woes, everyone's putting that off as to when they're going to introduce it.
Yeah. And, you talk about Boeing's woes. I'm hesitant to say it, but, seeing the news out of India, it just, I'm not going to comment on the investigation or anything, but I'll just say it just feels like Boeing is just getting one hit after another. And it's a shame because I'll say Boeing is one of our national treasures.
It is.
They've got the queen of the skies.
But at least it's looking like it's not something that they did and, as part of something wrong with their plane, right? That's what it's, obviously you don't want to speculate, but I mean, that's what they haven't made any kind of airworthiness directive kind of language through what's gone on so far.
Right. Yeah. Boeing hasn't come out and said, hey, everybody's got to change this or that. But I feel like there's still so much uncertainty with that. I mean, I think the Air Current has come out with what seems like reasonable, and I don't want to steal their fury just listening to John Ostrower and others on the Air Show podcast. But set aside what the cause was, set aside the uncertainty, it's still Boeing in the news in a way that Boeing doesn't want to be or doesn't need to be in the news. And I think that's the concern.
It's definitely not the pinnacle of Boeing's power and prestige at this time.
Especially as we're all getting excited for the 777-9X and everything that sort of opens up as an opportunity. I mean, I still remember the GC map of where that 77 or 777-9X could get to. And I think it was like from Dubai. I think Dubai or Emirates is the launch customer for the 9X, not the 8X.
Maybe. I thought Lufthansa was the launch customer.
Well, Lufthansa is the launch customer for either the 8 or the 9, and then Emirates is the launch customer for the other. And so GC Map did this really cool map and essentially showed like it was literally either Christmas Island or Easter Island that they couldn't get to on the entire planet from Dubai nonstop. And is that not one of the most incredible concepts out there? I mean, whether you want a long flight or not, the idea that you could go one stop to almost any single place in the planet just to me seems like the pinnacle of aviation.
Is it that much more range than the existing like A350s and 787s that exist currently? I mean, I feel like it's more about the number of seats, right, than the range, I would think.
Why don't you guys talk and I'll do a little real-time producing.
Because I mean, obviously that 787. I mean, it's meant to be the replacement, right, for all the A380s and 747s that they're going to be retiring over the next couple of decades.
It looks like the 779X has 1,500 plus longer range nautical miles, which is not insignificant.
That is a fair number of miles.
The 77W, the 300ER, I should say, is 6,014 nautical miles. The 777-9X is 7,525 nautical miles. I mean, 1,500 plus seems pretty impactful to me.
Yeah, but what's the range on like an A350 1000 or 900 or whatever?
Oh, yes. Okay, you're asking good questions. We'll do some more real-time producing here.
Because, I mean, you're right.
No, get this. The 777-8X is designed to have a longer range of 8,000 nautical miles. 8,000. That's 2,000 more than the 300ER. Almost 2,000 more.
But the A350-900 range is 8,000. Okay, it's 8,000 nautical miles. So it's about the same as the...
Well, wouldn't the better comparison be the A350 XWB, which is the Singapore bird?
Yeah, I don't...
Oh, that's interesting. So the Singapore bird, but the problem is the A350 1000 XWB is so limited on the capacity, but that can do 8,000, it looks like.
Or looks like it's the ultra long range version can do 9,000.
Is it 9? I feel like I'm getting hallucinations as I'm getting Google.
It's a good point.
Like I've gotten two different answers on the 777-8X, 8,000 and 8,700. So okay, we're not going to do any more real-time producing.
Real-time producing ended. Over.
We'll say do your own fact-checking here because we think that our Gemini or Google searching is giving us hallucinations. The real point of it is that we're on the precipice of aircraft that can do really long range with really high capacity, and it's kind of exciting, and Boeing still really needs to get out of the news in the bad way. We'll say it that way. I wanted to circle back just very briefly.
Oh, Boeing needs good news.
Boeing needs very good news, yes. I wanted to call out just briefly because when we started talking about the 787, the new flagship suite on the 787, you called out a Twitter handle that we follow. I think we all follow it. And it's JONNYC, at JONNYC. And John NYC he doesn't say he's an insider, but he has insider knowledge. And generally when he shares things, he's very transparent. He says whether he thinks it's a rumor or whether he's got actual proof. And when he shares those things, it usually comes to fruition. So if you're on Twitter and you want to have a little bit of insight, he's definitely somebody to follow. I've interacted with him occasionally. I don't know him personally, but I've definitely found his insight to be really helpful. I'm sure, Han, and Tom, you feel the same way.
Yeah.
And just want to make sure that our listeners know that that is an interesting resource. If you want to learn more from the industry side or insight, that's definitely somebody to certainly follow.
Trevor, I don't want to end on such a dour note, with AA, I wanted to ask you real quick about your B6 experience. We didn't really talk about JetBlue too much, but I think you told me you gave it a B plus or something like that as a rating. I thought they were really good. I'm glad that TransAtlantic product exists in terms of price competition, but I also think the product itself is really, really good for a narrow body. And if that is the future of most business class or a lot more business class, which I think it is, at least in terms of transatlantic, I'm okay with it. Of course, I would take a wide body first class experience over that any day of the week. But if that's what's going to be kind of more normalized as a standard or something, that's not a bad standard to have, I think. So I would give it like an A, more of like an A minus or something. But I don't know if you said B plus or B minus. I can't remember.
I can't remember either, to be honest with you. But I mean, I definitely give it a solid B. We'll split the difference. I felt like the staff was amazing. I was not terribly impressed with the food. I felt like that could have been a little bit better. The seat to me was still fairly tight. I actually felt like I enjoyed the experience flying JetBlue Mint, like the domestic version, like the throne / other.
The throne seat. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I enjoyed that more. Where I thought JetBlue excelled the most was the fact that they let me sleep until like nearly the end and gave me a to-go bag. That to me was the thing that changed the entire experience and left me with a very, very good taste in my mouth. But like the meal service, had I not had a good meal at the Chase Sapphire Lounge, I don't think I would have been nearly as satiated or happy with that overall experience.
It's smart when those airlines realize, that sleep is a pretty big premium or part of that premium experience, that people are paying for. So the fact that they let you maximize your sleep experience, I think, is a great thing. I think it's good when airlines recognize it and take steps to do that.
And just think about for a second, how much could a wide body airline, a United, save money-wise if they don't have to cook up eggs for, let's say, half or more than half of the business class cabin, right? If they just say, hey, do you want a to-go bag? You could save so much time, so much money just by merely offering the to-go bag and letting your passengers sleep longer. Everybody talks about American taking an olive out of the salad. Imagine not having to cook half the eggs on a plane. If you wanted to really mitigate it, you could give that option. Since you've got the option to choose meals and all that stuff, you could give that option before you even board the plane. I mean, we have to be talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings if they were to just think a little bit more proactively and just make sacred our sleep a little bit more on these short transatlantics. I'm not getting on a soapbox. I've gotten on a couple this episode. But airlines, listen to us. We want sleep. And you've got an opportunity. If you give us sleep, you could probably save some money. Just do it smartly. Do it in a thoughtful way. Give us a to-go bag that shows us you want us to be nourished, but you also respect our need for rest.
That's good. It's strange. My Mint experience was the opposite of yours. Like, I found my transatlantic Mint experience in the 2.0 seat more fun and enjoyable than the Mint 1.0 Transcon that I was on. I thought the food was better. Like, they had some lasagna and a couple of, like, a salad and some other dish I can't remember. And the drinks were good and service was really good. But it was a daytime flight.
Yeah, you were a daylight flight. So the level of service, they could give you the warm meal. They could give you the drink service.
Yeah.
I had like give me food so I can fall asleep. And then I had like one, maybe two drinks. And then it was let me crush my shoulders in the seat and fall asleep. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a better seat than Virgin.
Yeah, way better. Way better. way better.
But I felt like the bedding was not nearly as high quality. I mean, as other airlines, wide body airlines will say, like I can't remember if they had a mattress pad. And if they did, it was not meaningful enough to me to make a difference in my comfort. It was just, there were pieces that they could have done better. And I just felt like they fell short when you consider a red eye, except for, of course, the to-go breakfast. Like, that was the biggest redeeming factor. And sometimes that's the strategy, right? Hey, let's underwhelm in the more expensive things, and we're going to spend $20 on this breakfast, and probably not even 20. And they're going to leave with a good taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the intent. Don't know. But from the perspective of a red eye, I wasn't impressed. I'm sure that I'd be impressed on a daylight.
Okay.
Because I've never been unimpressed with JetBlue's, general service, like when you factor in the actual soft product.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to detract, even on the red eye, the soft product, the flight attendants were absolutely fantastic. But when you're sleeping, they don't really shine because,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of noting the trend of these narrow bodies on transatlantic routes anyway. And I think Iberia has it now, right?
Oh yeah. They're flying that from Dulles. I've been trying to find seats, but they, fewer seats, fewer award seats. And then I think, isn't there an airline flying to the Azores?
Maybe.
I think SAS is flying too, right? Don't they have a 321 as well? I think.
Yes, they have an A321, and then it's like Azores Airline or some. There was one airline that like had to do like some sort of a tech stop or a mechanical stop, and I can't remember what it was, but somebody shared it with me and was like, "Hey, I want this," and like they get like a 12 or 24-hour stop in like the Azores or Tenerife or something.
Not to take away too much, from 757s have been flying over the Atlantic for quite a while now.
Yeah, but they've been in that like 222 or 22 configuration. I mean, we're talking about a new era of airlines flying single aisle. Everybody in business class is aisle access. Even United, I thought, was trying to figure out a narrow body to like the Azores or Tenerife.
Yeah, I'm sure that the future of aviation is definitely going to see a lot of that narrow body business class product going forward. I don't think that's going to be a one-off. A lot of people are copying that model, and you got a 5-6 hour flight makes sense, right?
And that A321, what is it, LR? I mean, if they've got enough fuel for it, XLR?
XLR.
I mean, it's cheaper. It probably costs less for the pilots because you're not a wide body. I mean, I get the business reasons. It's just getting the product right.
Yeah, I think it was a real mistake for Boeing not have designed a new narrow body, when they had the chance instead of going with you kind of go back to the original sin of Boeing these days.
Yeah,
when they made that decision to pivot to the Max, rather than taking that opportunity to redesign a new narrow body for the next, had somebody made a better decision, then, there could be a very different Boeing right now.
As history looks, that might be that pivot point for them. I mean, either that or when they started to outsource everything. But yeah, I think they were calling that, new mid-range narrow body, or I don't know if mid-range is the right answer, but I think they were calling that the 797. And now I think we're all wondering what it will be, the 797. I think it's still going to be the same aircraft because it's the same gap in their offering, right?
Yep. Still exists.
It's a shame. I do love the pencil. I do love the flying pencil. So many wonderful memories on the 757.
Well, that's funny. You mentioned the flying pencil is the moniker for both the 757 and the A340-600, is it not? I mean, I've heard both of them.
It kind of is.
Yes,
I think both have been called that.
I agree. And then the version that Singapore used to use on the Singapore to New York and LA or in Newark, I should say, that used to be called the flying gas tank, but it still looked like a flying pencil, I think.
Well, guys, I really enjoyed this talk. I wanted to end on a high note.
I feel like we have.
Look, all right. You seem a little bit mixed on mint, but
I'm not mixed on mint. I just think, look, it's a blessing to get on any of these aircraft. Let's never forget, it's a blessing to be able to fly the way that we fly, in the luxury that we get to fly, that we get to experience. Yes, we can critique, but these are all first world problems. And still, we're blessed to be able to see the world. We're blessed to be able to do this with the frequency and the luxury that we can. I mean,
Agreed.
I never want to forget that aspect. Because growing up, I remember flying economy on Virgin Atlantic to London my first time when I was a kid with my parents. It was a story that I've been trying to find the proof, I'll say. It was a promotion with Joe Boxer that if you got X number of Boxers, you got a free companion ticket. And my father did enough to get the family to go to London. And that was my first experience going to Europe. And to think that now I'm critiquing JetBlue because I'm in a lay flat and I didn't feel like I had the proper mattress pad, it is a complete first world problem. I will never disagree with the level that we've gotten to at this point.
Nice.
I just can't thank you enough. I think we can't thank you enough for coming back on. The beauty, I think, and what some listeners have told us is the beauty of Travel Stories is how natural the conversation is. I mean, it literally feels like we're sitting around having a couple of drinks and just chatting about our travel stories. And you just,
for sure,
you bring so much to the table, and we just so appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, it's been a real pleasure. It's always great to have like-minded people.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have to explain to you why I crossed the Atlantic twice in a couple days.
It all makes sense to all of us.
And I love it. We both love it. So I know that you don't have like a blog yourself or anything, but still want to give you an opportunity to share how our listeners can find you, if you want to be found.
You could find me at Han Chicago on Twitter X. and I'm on Instagram under the same handle. You're not going to find much of the travel stuff these days because I'm still figuring out what my next trip is. And in fact, I have to actually renew my passport soon because I think I'm in the 6 month. I got like less than 6 months left now. So I probably have to do that. But I will get back out there, and I always have you guys to listen to and inspire me. So I appreciate that. So keep it going. I need that for my intravenous use. So
I get inspired by what you're doing. So it's a virtuous cycle, I guess.
All right, cool.
It truly is. I too get inspired by you. Well, thank you so much. And I think we should close it out.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, that's the show. Thanks for joining us. And we hope you enjoyed listening.
If you've enjoyed this episode, consider becoming a Milenomics Patreon member and get access to even more in-depth miles, points, and travel content.
Until then, we hope your next story is a travel story.